It's the understanding of the Mark Dolan show that Prince Harry has set to work on a sensational sequel to his devastating book Spare, the book about his life that tore his family apart. We believe there is no formal deal in place, but Harry is now a desperate man, and insiders have told this programme that the prodigal prince is, and I quote, sketching out ideas for a bombshell follow-up. And a bombshell it would be. Now, a second book is, of course, The Nuclear Option, and will bring to an abrupt end any hopes of a peace deal with his father, King Charles. The Sussex's finances are now so perilous, once he has a broad outline ready, Harry is expected to go back to his publishers, HarperCollins, and seek another $20, $30, or even $40 million for Spare 2, which will pick up where we left off in 2023 when the original book was released. Now, Spare 2 will feature revelations about his failed battle with the British government for royal security. It will be detailing the collapse of his charity Centre Barley. We'll get more details on the supposedly near catastrophic car chase in New York City, which raised eyebrows given the notorious traffic in the Big Apple. Plus, we'll get Harry's perspective on Meghan Markle's business ambitions and the making of her Netflix show With Love Meghan, which we can now confirm will not be returning after season 2. Now, this book will be another publishing sensation. Yes, the book will be worthless, it will be full of lies, it will be vitriolic, bitter, nasty, churlish, obnoxious. It will be all of those things and much more. But there will be a bidding war for it. When the book is published, it will be the publishing event of the year. And so the bottom line is that Harry's got financial problems. It makes perfect sense that he goes back to the well of royal gossip and of royal attacks on his own family. Of course, you know, there isn't just the advance, because the way that publishing works is that Harry would get a big chunk of cash straight away. So for the original book, he would get $20 million. With inflation and with the fact that there would be intrigue around what would be happening in Spare 2, what the details of it would be, then Harry would get a bigger advance. So the advance could be expected to be $25 or $30 million. It could be upwards of $40 million if a publishing house like HarperCollins thought he was worth the money. I will say, notwithstanding my reservations about the book, it was a commercial success. It made money for Prince Harry and it made money for the publishers HarperCollins. So they do trust Harry. Harry can't be trusted to run a charity. Okay, Centre Barley is now a smoking ruin. He can't run a business. He's not very good as a family man. He's alienated his father, his brother, his sister-in-law, and just about everyone else in the United Kingdom. He's disloyal. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, he's an extremely underwhelming personality. But the one thing he's got, the cachet he's got, is in the world of publishing, the ability to spill the beans about his family. So I can assure you, even though you don't want to read that book and I don't want to read that book and I hope it never exists, there will be a bidding war for it. So Harry will get an advance and it will be higher than for Spare 1, just like Christopher Reeve got more money for Superman 2. Just been watching Superman 2 recently. What an entertaining film. I didn't realise that the director was fired after he'd shot most of the scenes and some other guy came in, reshot a few scenes and made a classic movie. Anyway, there you go. It's like sausage making. You don't want to know how it's done, otherwise you'll never eat the thing. But the end product was good when it came to Superman 2. Spare 2 will be dreadful. It will be self-indulgent. It will be navel-gazing. It will be poor me, Prince Harry, the world's least happy millionaire, humpy-dumpy-dumpy-dump, my terrible life, humpy-dumpy-dumpy-dump. But there'll be great interest in it. And a publisher like HarperCollins now trust Harry to shift units. You don't just have the sales of the hard copy of the book itself. You got the audiobook. Harry read the audiobook, which sent me to sleep, I can't lie. Perfect cure for insomnia is to listen to Spare in the dead of night. But you also have the newspaper serializations. So a newspaper like the Mail or the New York Post or any other great publication will pay HarperCollins $1, $2, $3 million just for the serialization rights. That will be sort of excerpts and highlights from the book. Not that Spare 2 will contain any highlights, only lowlights, but that brings in more money. So the bottom line is that Spare 2 would be ill-advised. It would destroy Harry's family. But the guy is flat broke. We know that. Of course, I've revealed on the show that the Netflix deal is over. It was worth $100 million. They didn't get anything like that because they produced so few programs. They're getting in the region of $15 million from that deal, which after tax and management costs and security and all the rest of it, doesn't amount to a hill of beans. And here's the thing. The sensational news that Harry is sketching out Spare 2 is a clear demonstration as to why William will have nothing to do with his brother whatsoever. William is not interested. Niente interante. Niente interante, which is Spanish/Italian for I'm not interested. But it demonstrates William's excellent judgment. He's a wise man. Unlike his brother, he's very, very bright. He's emotionally intelligent. He's wise. And he's got an inner steel. He takes no nonsense. He takes no prisoners. And he knows what his brother's like. They've grown up together. He's done so much for Harry over the years. He's been essentially a parent and guardian, having lost their mother when Harry was very small. And of course, William himself, still a teenager, but he had to grow up overnight and took responsibility because Charles was quite distracted. He was in mourning for Diana. Then he was building his relationship with Camilla and trying to reconstruct his public image. So in the aftermath of the passing of Princess Diana, that was a very difficult few years for Charles, and he did his best. Of course he did. But William assumed some of those parental responsibilities in regard to Harry. And what thanks does William get? He gets nothing. He gets it thrown back in his face, with Spare 1 having been so cruel about Princess Catherine, casting her as the evil sister-in-law. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. But William knows Harry. He doesn't take any nonsense. He doesn't suffer fools gladly. And he knows that his brother is the biggest fool of all of them. The trust between them is zero. And hopefully these revelations about the fact that Harry is sketching out Spare 2 ought to cause King Charles to reflect on his decision to reunite with his son and to broker some kind of peace deal. I'm happy for a peace deal, but that peace deal has to be predicated on Harry apologizing for the last 5 years, promising that he'll never do such a betrayal again. No more books, no podcasts, no TV shows, no Netflix deals, and ideally, the ultimate price of peace, because you know when you're trying to do a peace deal, they call it land for peace, don't they? So you're like, let's do, like Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin, they're going to do a deal. Eventually a deal will happen, and here's hoping. We want that awful war to end. And when it does, they will have to give up territory. Each country will have to say, all right, well, you take that and I'll take that and we'll be friends forever. And the deal on the table, the land for peace on the part of Harry, would have to be divorce from Meghan Markle. As long as she's around, as long as she's in the scene and in Harry's ear, then the guy cannot be trusted. He can't be trusted because he's an empty vessel. He is actually not even a human being anymore, right? He's just an avatar, an hologram representing Meghan Markle, who is basically, like in one of those science fiction films, she's jumped inside of his head and controls everything. So when he does these interviews with, oh, my life is so terrible, I don't know how long my dad's got, I don't want to do any fighting anymore, all of that is dictated by my husband, by Meghan Markle herself. So the bottom line is that Spare 2 is going to be a lot like Spare 1 in that it's going to be damaging and powerful before it even begins. You see, the existence of Spare 2 as a project is exactly like Spare 1. Before publication, it will wreak enormous emotional and psychological damage on the royal family because it can be leveraged. The threat of this second book can be leveraged by Harry. It wouldn't surprise me if Harry conducts these peace talks with Charles and actually says, well, let me lay it out for you. Either we bury the hatchet and have a peace deal, or I write Spare 2. That is ultimately, it's not just his meal ticket and his way out of bankruptcy so that he can then prop up his marriage with Meghan Markle, who, be clear, is on the market for a billionaire. Because Meghan Markle is motivated, I've been saying this for months now, Meghan Markle's motivated by a few things: fame, power, influence, ego, and money. And she's got all of the other four things courtesy of Harry and the royal family. The one thing she hasn't got is money, the cashola, the readies. She hasn't got the dollar signs in her eyes. But the bottom line is that Harry will fix his financial problems and can potentially bully the royal family into submission with the threat of Spare 2. There's a very practical reason why this book is coming as well. Harry is broke. We've been very clear about that. The Mark Dolan show broke that story weeks ago. We're always ahead of the curve. He's got no job. He's got no money. He's full of bitterness and vitriol. So he is ripe for that book. That book, Spare 2, is going to pour out of him. And he could pretty much dictate the thing in a couple of days and it would be absolutely done. Don't take my word for it. Richard Fitzwilliams is across this as well. He was talking, he's a brilliant royal expert. He was talking to the Express newspaper and he was talking about the couple's financial woes. And quite by some miraculous coincidence, Fitzwilliams has been working on this theory of a second book because he said, and by the way, this could mean, the noise is coming out of Montecito. Montecito is that a second book is on its way. At least it's being sketched out. Well, Fitzwilliam is hearing it. I'm hearing it. I've got no doubt some of the other hacks in royal circles are hearing it too. So it's possible that the Markles of Montecito are actually spreading this story to create fear in the palace, just as they did with Spare 1, which, by the way, most egregiously brought fear on the Queen. Queen Elizabeth, late Queen Elizabeth II, who had to worry about the Spare book and what might be in it and how it might destroy a family and a monarchy that she's devoted her life to. Did Harry care? No, he didn't, because he's not a nice man. Anyway, Fitzwilliams has said what would sell to fix their financial problems is another memoir. He goes on, Harry told us when Spare was released that he cut 400 pages as they would be too toxic for the royal family. Now, this is devastating, right? This is great intel from Richard Fitzwilliams, who's been on my old show. He's a brilliant guy. He's a lovely man and very knowledgeable, very connected to royal circles. So what he says carries significant weight. And it's interesting, isn't it? He's absolutely right that Spare would have been 400 pages, would have been 1,000 pages longer and more boring than War and Peace. War and Peace is like a chick lit. It's like a rom-com by comparison to Spare, which was the most miserable, tedious, dull, horrific book. Anyhow, but Harry, we're told, if we're to believe him, cut lots and lots of pages, lots of excerpts, lots of anecdotes from the book to spare the royal family's blushes. Well, I don't know what worse he could say than revealing details of his fight with his brother William. I don't know what worse he could say than casting his stepmother Camilla as a dreadful, horrible person, a vindictive, nasty, dangerous individual. I don't know what could be worse than what he did in an interview, which is to criticize his father's parenting skills when Charles was doing his best as a one-parent family. I don't know what could be worse than being nasty about Princess Catherine or feeling so sorry for himself as a multimillionaire aristocrat. What could be worse than calling the royal family RACISM, which, of course, he and Meghan did in the Oprah non-interview / corporate video. That's the worst thing you can accuse someone of, is it not? It's got to be. It's the most egregious crime, RACISM. And for him to glibly accuse an unnamed member of the royal family, by the way, a lie, just a flat lie. Tell me in the comments, is there anyone in the royal family that's RACIST? Do me a favour. And Meghan, as a woman of colour, was welcomed into the royal family with extraordinary enthusiasm. And Queen Elizabeth herself, who was the most strict person who always abided by the rules, Queen Elizabeth broke so many rules and loosened so much royal protocol to make Meghan comfortable. But what thanks did she get? She got it thrown back in her face. There is a theme emerging here, is there not? And by the way, everything that's bad about Harry, his nasty behavior, his vicious remarks, his pathological cruelty towards his family, all of it is directed by Meghan Markle. He is like a remote control car just being driven around with Meghan in control of the toy. That is it. That's it. The guy is. He's just like a wind-up toy. She winds him up and off he goes. It's very sad to see what's happened to this guy. It's a crashing. It's actually a national tragedy to see what's happened. How we've lost Prince Harry. I mean, Britain hasn't just lost him, and the family haven't just lost him. He's lost himself. He's just a shadow of what he was, isn't he? He's quite literally a shadow on the wall. He's Meghan's whipping boy. I won't be your whipping boy. Whip me like a little toy. Hop me till my feet are sore, but I won't be your whipping boy. Ooh. There's a lovely bridge then, but we won't get to it. I'm not sure that the vocals will carry it today. Right. By the way, I've got some other massive stories for you. Strap yourselves in, folks, because Meghan's wine business is in trouble. But can we just get back to the remarks of Richard Fitzwilliams, who told the Express what would sell is another memoir. Harry told us that when Spare was released, he cut 400 pages as they would be toxic for the royal family. Well, you know what that means? If that's true, and it's a big if, that means that the book, Spare 2, is already written. It's in the bag. As the Italians would say, it's in the baggio. In the baggio. Oggi. Okay, it's already there. It's ready to go. Siamo sempre con te. Spaghetti. Tagliatini carbonara. Pinot Grigio. Carlo Ancelotti, grazie mille. So, do you take my point? Do you take my point that if he's cut 400 pages from Spare 1, which, by the way, would be the best 400 pages, right? Because if he's cut them because they're outrageous, well, then that is, that's a book deal. I mean, if he goes to HarperCollins and his negotiating line is, hello, I'm Prince Harry, world's least happy millionaire, and I'm flat broke, as revealed by the Mark Dolan show. There's no money anymore. There's no job. Centibale is a smoking ruin of a charity. But with the first book, I was a little bit scared of putting some things in there. So I cut quite a lot of juicy stuff, 400 pages from the first book. The first book, which was an international bestseller. I'm offering you those 400 pages for Spare 2, and then a couple of other bits and pieces about a near catastrophic car chase in New York, which is famous for 24/7 gridlock. At that point, the publishers at HarperCollins cannot reach for the checkbook quickly enough. If Harry promises to put the 400 cut pages, the director's cut of Spare 1 into Spare 2, and then a few other bits and pieces, including what motivated him to do that catastrophic BBC interview after losing his court case against the British government. HarperCollins will, do you know who owns HarperCollins? A good friend of mine, Rupert Murdoch, the Australian media magnate. I've got so many viewers in Australia and New Zealand, by the way. G'day. So many viewers. And I'm so excited because the Mark Dolan show, we publish at 9 p.m. in the UK, which is my country of birth. We publish at 1 p.m. on the west coast of the United States. Oh, we're gonna go surfing USA. And then the East Coast starts spreading the news at 4 p.m. And it's early morning down under. 9 a.m. for some, 5 a.m. in Perth, 7 a.m. So it's the morning down under. It's a great... And so the Australians, the New Zealanders, the Kiwis, they're having their breakfast with the Mark Dolan show. This is the breakfast show. Good morning, guys. Let's go and have a great day. And Rupert Murdoch is an icon of Australian culture. I'm going to be controversial. Are you ready for this? I like him. Oh, no! I'm so sorry. Listen, the Mark Dolan show it's not an echo chamber, right? There are loads of times when we disagree with each other. And that's what this community is about. Because in the world, out there on social media and in the supermarket and in the workplace, no one gets along anymore because we've all forgotten about free debate. We've forgotten about critical thinking. We've forgotten about tolerance, haven't we? Do you remember the old days? In the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, no one cared about your politics. In America, you vote Republican, you vote Democrat, you like Ronald Reagan, you like Jimmy Carter. Yeah, there were political disagreements, but people came along. They had barbecues together and dinner parties, and it was a beautiful thing. Now it's terrible. I've just come back from the United States, which is a country that I love. America. I like to live in America. I like to be in America. I like to be in America. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. So, luckily for you, I haven't quite grasped the lyrics of that yet, but give me time. I'll learn them. Now, people, you got families that are split over Donald. Some love him, some hate him. They won't talk to each other. That's silly. You're all Americans. America's a great country. The American people are great. You need to come together. You need to come together. Even if you don't, what you do is you're going to say, Uncle John, I don't agree with you about Donald, but I love you. And shall we have a cocktail? The end. The end. We should clip that up. I mean, that's it. That just fixes everything, doesn't it? Uncle John, I disagree with you about Donald. And by the way, Uncle John, it doesn't matter. Does he love Donald? Does he not love Donald? That doesn't matter. Okay. But there's a disagreement with Uncle John about Donald. Maybe Uncle John loves him and is full MAGA. And maybe Uncle John doesn't love him and is full Dem, a big liberal. Who cares? Let's have a cocktail because I love you. And let's talk about poetry, which I always used to like poetry at school. I don't know what you think about poetry. I think it's very good because it's more efficient than if you look at novels. Basically, it's just like this thing needs an edit, right? Most books are too long by an order of magnitude. Great Expectations, Charles Dickens. The man's a genius. That book will be twice as good if it was half as long. Where's the editor? J.K. Rowling. I admire her greatly. Love J.K. Rowling. She got a generation of children to read. But every version of Harry Potter got longer and longer because she had more control. And I just, bring in the editor. That's what's nice about poetry. It's very succinct. And by the way, if you've got any youngsters learning poetry, I've got a life hack to understand poetry. Because when I was at school, I often would look at a poem, I wouldn't understand it. Do you know what you do? Read it about 20 times and then it will make sense. It's quite something, isn't it? I tried that with Spare. It didn't work. Okay. But that is true, by the way. I used to reread poetry and it somehow unlocked something. Let me know in the comments your favorite poem. I am a big fan of Rudyard Kipling about if you can keep your head while those around you are losing theirs. Isn't that brilliant? And if you can treat success and failure as sort of equal imposters, then you'll be successful. You'll be a good man. Isn't that brilliant? Rudyard Kipling, If. Lovely poem. Let me know in the comments your favorite poem. Anyway, Fitzwilliam has said, what would sell is another memoir. Harry told us when Spare was released that he cut 400 pages. Rupert Murdoch owns HarperCollins, the publisher. He also owns a bunch of newspapers around the world. He set up Sky TV, who I've worked for. He was an investor in Talk Radio that I used to work for. So I have actually taken the Murdoch dollar. I've effectively worked for Rupert Murdoch. And when I was at Talk Radio, he would often be in the building, flown in from the United States with his latest wife, because he's had more wives than Mick Jagger. And he's even had Mick Jagger's ex-wife, hasn't he? Jerry Hall. I don't know what attracted her to the billionaire Rupert Murdoch. Jerry Hall. I mean, it's a dream, isn't it, really? You've got the model and the billionaire. It's perfect. It's the same reason why Meghan Markle is going to find a billionaire when she and Harry divorce, and she'll be looking for someone like Warren Buffett. That's what. Hi, Warren. My name's Meghan Markle, and I'd like to be Meghan Buffett because we could be so devoted to each other. Because I'm not interested in your money. I really dig 85-year-old men from Nebraska. I don't know why, but there's something about 85-year-old men from Nebraska that just do it for me. Men that live in the same house that they were born in that are worth, I don't know, $85 billion. But it's not the money, Warren. I just really like your personality. And I'd love to get together with you and we could buff the Buffett. I'd love to buff the Buffett. It's my dream to buff the Buffett. Buff the Buffett. She wants a billionaire. By the way, oh my God, Meghan Markle could quite easily marry Rupert Murdoch, because he's in his 90s now. He's a wealthy man, and he likes to have a young lady on his arm. Meghan and Rupert would be perfect. And do you realize that's her dream? Because she would get with Rupert Murdoch, she'd be like, "Don't worry, darling, I'm going to look after you, Meghan. I've got billions in the bank. I'm never going to run out of money. I also own a lot of newspapers and websites, so I can give you distribution. I can give you dollars and distribution, the 2 Ds. There's another D, but it's a family show. We won't go there. Viagra. Okay. But darling, I'd like to marry you. I'm Rupert Murdoch. I own a lot of newspapers. TV, I own TV stations. I can put you everywhere. I can distribute you across, where has he gone? Turn to America. I can Australia. I can distribute you around the world. Cobber. G'day. I'll make you an international icon. I will make you the new Diana. Let's do it. And you can see that. It's a win-win. Rupert Murdoch, I know a lot of you don't agree, but Meghan Markle, I think, is a pretty person. I do, and I know in the comments you'll disagree, but I think she's you could say she's in the ballpark of an attractive young woman. Young, dispute over her age. She's in her 40s. Good luck, but she's not an ugly woman, is she? So he would be quite happy with that. She gets the billions, and she gets Rupert Murdoch's media platforms, with which she could just go absolutely crazy. It would be complete world dominance. So, I mean, I'd be curious if Meghan's watching this. She sits there with her flower sprinkles. By the way, can I just lay it out with the flower sprinkles? It's my view that they are toxic, hallucinogenic, and people aren't supposed to eat flowers. Some of you often point out in the comments that you can eat some flowers, like I think there's an Italian vegetable, zucchini, I think, has that got flowers? So, fair enough. But overall, not flowers. Thanks, but no thanks. But Rupert Murdoch, so I work for him. Why do I like him? I think he's had an amazing career. And I also think it's controversial, I know, but I was going to say the Mark Dolan show, we're allowed to disagree with each other. And in the comments, if you don't like Rupert Murdoch, this is not a reason for us to fall out, because I understand why you wouldn't like Rupert Murdoch, because he's influenced political narratives in the UK, the United States, Australia. He's a media owner with influence. What I will say is that almost every media platform contains within it influence. So the Guardian newspaper in the UK is actually a charitable trust, but it seeks to influence the political conversation in a different direction. Look at American media. I'm going to be talking to an amazing sponsor very soon, a sponsorship platform that allows you to look at how stories are covered by different platforms and what their political influence and bias is, right? So there's bias everywhere. Rupert's was towards the kind of libertarian rights capitalist thing. But the reason why I like Rupert Murdoch is that he just inherited a very small regional newspaper from his father. His father had, I think, a bit of a publishing empire, but by the time he died, I think a lot of it had gone. And there was one, I can't remember what there was. It was a major Australian newspaper that was no longer a property of the family when Murdoch's father died. And but what he got is he got a small regional newspaper, and with that small opportunity, he created a media empire, a lot of jobs, and he also, I think I'm going on now, but he did a lot for journalism. For example, he bankrolled the Times newspaper, which was going completely, running out of money. It was completely bankrupt when he bought it. So he saved the Times, which is a newspaper of record of the United Kingdom, and he bankrolled it, lost a lot of money on it for years in order to sort of protect this brand and to keep journalism going. So I think overall, what I'd say is you might not like Rupert Murdoch, but let's have more of them, because I think these media owners, I mean, just the more the merrier for these brands is what I would say. Anyway, so Rupert Murdoch, there you go. He should marry Meghan. I'll look after you, Meghan. Don't worry about that. Throw a shrimp on the barbie and let's get busy. So Rupert Murdoch will quite happily pay Harry $30 or $40 million for Spare 2 as the owner of HarperCollins. I guarantee you, Murdoch would do the deal himself. Then the brilliant Richard Fitzwilliams says the royals will be concerned that the Sussexes will publish another memoir. And this time it could be Meghan or Harry that could write a memoir about his early life. So he thinks that Harry could focus on his early life. I don't think so. I think that it'll be those missing 400 pages, and it will be everything that's happened since Spare came out. But Fitzwilliam goes on to say, when you have unhappy exiles, you either have reconciliation or you have trouble. I can't see Meghan and Harry wanting to change their lifestyle. This devastating blow from Netflix raises the question of how they fund it without dishing more dirt. And that's why Fitzwilliams is a great royal expert, because he has the seeing eye. And he's absolutely right. Their only credible source of income is to share royal family secrets and to attack the royal family, which is why there should be no secret summit and why Harry should never darken the corridors of Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle or Clarence House or Balmoral ever again. He should be out of there. One thing I would say is I don't agree with Richard Fitzwilliams about Meghan. There will be no Meghan book until after the divorce, because Meghan, My Story, is her pension. And if she sold her book now, you're probably looking at 25, 30 million, maybe 35 million, certainly in that ballpark. When she divorces Harry, and the Mark Dolan show is the first show in the world to place Harry and Meghan on a 24/7 divorce watch, when that happens, let me be clear that the value of her book, Meghan, My Story, is $100 million. She'll get $100 million. But she has to wait until after the divorce, because then she can dish the dirt on Harry, which she can't do whilst they are together. And given the fact that Meghan pretty much ghost wrote Spare, in my view, because Harry didn't write Spare because he doesn't do sentences. Just stay away from the crayons, Harry. You'll do more harm to yourself than good. So she's actually already written Meghan, My Story. She's put it into Spare. So what needs to happen, she needs to split from Harry, and then bang, Spare comes along. And she will encourage Harry to write the book, because they're not going to divorce straight away. They do need money, and she wants to stay in the headlines, keep the dollars coming in. And she also wants revenge on the royal family. You know, Meghan Markle is embarked on a scorched earth policy of the royal family, which is without end. It is going to be relentless. She will never give up her war on the royal family. But there won't be a book from Meghan until after the divorce. Take my word for it. Now, there was a great line, and this is so true, from Richard Fitzwilliams. The Netflix deal is proof that the Sussexes are useless unless they attack the royal family, and that's why this book is going to happen. Of course, Robert Jobson, who is a brilliant journalist, he also pointed out that maybe Harry wanted to see King Charles to get more money. Money is the name of the game. I'll tell you where there's no money coming from. Meghan Markle's wine business, as ever, the Napa Valley wine, a complete disaster. So we were told when it launched on July the 1st, and I was in the United States at that point, I was in Yosemite National Park. Yosemite! And that's when the wine came out. And can I tell you that I was in Yosemite at the time. My emotions were that I would rather be ravaged by a brown bear in Yosemite National Park than drink her nasty wine, the rosé wine, which would come from the really rough part of the Napa Valley, where all the hoodwinks are, and the hoodlums, and the ne'er-do-wells, and the drug dealers, and the undesirables, basically. But bad news, because an insider in the wine industry has spoken to the Daily Mail, saying that this product didn't sell out. It simply ran out of stock because there was very little available in the first place. I mean, you and I knew that, but this is a wine expert that's told the Mail. They said that the wine available was only a small batch. They said there isn't demand for her wine from a mass market point of view. You can say that again. And a supermarket or department store deal is highly unlikely. So it's quite devastating, isn't it? It's another nail in the coffin of Meghan's business empire. We had the podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, no season 2. Netflix deal over. The Spotify deal gone. Now the wine. Thanks, but no thanks. No one wants it. Why? Because you've got to buy 3 bottles for $100. Who's got that money for a wine of such low quality you wouldn't wash your car with it? So more lies from Dutch is difficult. It's not surprising at all. There has been a bit of a discussion about how quiet Meghan's gone. She's not publicly addressed this backlash about her wine, no stalwart defense of her Napa Valley plonk, or the end to the Netflix deal, or what her next moves will be. People are saying that maybe this is a ceasefire. But I'm so sorry, a ceasefire from Meghan Markle is as credible as a ceasefire from the aforementioned Vladimir Putin. It ain't going to happen. I'm actually more nervous when she's not online because it means she's scheming. And what is the big scheme? Spare 2. This is not a drill. Folks, it's been great to talk. I'm not going to have a glass of Meghan Markle's Napa Valley Rosé right now. I might have a Budweiser, which is the king of beers. We know that because it's written on every can and every bottle. Cannot wait to see you for the next video. The Mark Dolan show is more or less daily, although it's not every day. Of course, I skip the occasional day in order to recharge the batteries and get the research back up to where it needs to be for the show. But we're largely daily, but I do skip the odd day. So the best way to fix that, if you can, is to subscribe and grow this community and hit the notification bell, because that way, when a video drops, you'll be the first to know. Also, something I'm considering doing is doing shorter clips from the show. So the show will always go out at 9 o'clock in the UK in the evening, at 1 p.m. in California, at 4 p.m. in New York, and early morning down under, right? We're going to always have the Mark Dolan show launching at that time. So if at that time there's no video, it's highly likely that that's a rest day when I'm praying for forgiveness as a Roman Catholic. But I'm thinking of doing some shorter clips from the show, which go out the next day. So let's imagine that the show goes out on a Tuesday, and then you might see some shorter clips from the previous day's show popping up, because one or two of you have said, lots of you, most of you enjoy the long show, which is wonderful, but some of you said you might like to have shorter clips, so they'll come out the next day. So don't get confused. The main show always 9 o'clock UK in the evening, 1 p.m. California, 4 p.m. New York and the East Coast, early morning down under. That won't change. Don't you change. Stay awesome. I love the comments. They're not just part of the show. They are the show. Cannot wait to see you for the next one. Big love. Stay safe. Bye for now.